Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let there be peace, peace, peace. In our culture, especially in the Eastern culture, we revere the works of great sages and sadhus like Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Swami Vivekananda, Ramana Maharishi, and so many other. In our society, we talk about the greatness of our scriptures and we value and cherish the teachings that are given by Mahatmas and sages. But when someone from our own family begins to follow a spiritual path, we get so afraid, so scared. We just want to hold them and tell them that read all the works of the great sages, but don't go into the spiritual path. And generally, the resistance is due to a fear of abandonment. Because people feel that when a particular member of the family, let's say a husband or a wife, gets awakened, they may just leave. And that can happen. But generally, sages like Ramana Maharishi would not advocate that approach. So there is no rationality to that fear as such, because one can pursue a spiritual path even while performing their householder duties. They don't have to leave their children. They don't have to abandon their spouses. But yes, something within them changes. The way they dress, the way they eat food, the kind of people they associate with. Now, the thing is that our elders, our parents, our relatives, they would listen to endless bhajans and kirtans and devotional songs. But when their own children want to follow a peaceful path, they will offer so much resistance. They will offer the first and the hardest roadblock to their spiritual journey. If, let's say, a wife wants to pursue a spiritual path, the husband will be scared. Because for them, deviating from the conventional path and becoming free is a threat. They feel threatened that they will be left alone. And what they fear most is fear of loneliness and abandonment. Because they have never bothered to look inside themselves as to why that loneliness and that fear is there in the first place. As it is, the path of a spiritual seeker is full of challenges, and the family adds more and more pressure to it without understanding what the individual is going through. They offer no solace, they offer no compassion, but come hard on the person, telling them to change their ways, to go back to their previous ways, wear the clothes that they prefer, watch television, the programs that they want, they like, go to social functions and social gatherings, attend marriages, and lots of other stuff. But the person undergoing awakening, the person where seeking is happening, is not concerned about any of that. They don't want to conform to the society's rules. They gel in the society. They are not a nuisance to anyone. But what they value highest is their own personal freedom. They want the freedom to wear whatever clothes they like. And let's say even if that is wrong from the parents or the husband or wife's family's perspective, why don't we let them make that mistake and discover it for themselves? Why are we so keen on pushing our own beliefs onto them? Places where men experience awakening and their wives and children put so much blame, shame, and guilt onto them for following that path. The children become like foot soldiers for the wife, and they complain to the husband, "Why are you leaving us? Why are you abandoning us?" Whereas in reality, none of that may be happening. Yes, in some cases, the family pressure is so much that people leave. It has happened in my own family, where my great great grandfather from my father's side had an awakening and he left his entire family. He came back after 30 years. He was unrecognizable, but some people from the village got to know. Was he right or wrong? Who are we to judge? I wasn't there when he left. I don't know what pressure, what circumstances made him leave. But he did at that time what he thought was required for his individual freedom and personal growth, which every spiritual seeker aspires for. But when the family shuts the door, when they are not able to understand what the seeker is going through, the challenges, the obstacles they are facing in their path, because seeking means confronting your own personal demons, coming face to face with your own conditioning, with your own load of guilt and shame that we carry from the past. As it is, that is a very challenging task, and on top of that, family becomes uncooperative because they become scared. A spiritual seeker does not have to abandon their family in order to discover truth. But if the family creates a situation that is suffocating, that is not conducive for the spiritual path, then seekers will go to any extent to attain their freedom, even if that means breaking away from the family structure. Yes, from an outside perspective, that would seem as if injustice is happening. Small children have been abandoned. The poor, quote unquote, the poor, miserable spouse has been abandoned. But if you look deep, how the spiritual person was treated before awakening and what led to that awakening, if you see the complete picture, it will be clear that what is happening is a natural course of life. Nobody chooses to hurt anybody. Nobody chooses to leave anyone. But yes, life circumstances are such that sometimes people have to leave because there is no other choice. Because whether a spiritual seeker or not, to remain peaceful and happy, freedom is the highest value. It is the highest value for every human being, even for animals. There is nothing more valuable than freedom, free to live life the way they want to live. Now, they may be right or wrong. They will learn from their own experiences. But us telling them what is right and wrong is stewardship. All we can do is share our experience with them. So what does one do when such a situation happens? Well, for one, have compassion towards these family members who are threatened or fearful because of your spiritual awakening. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to stay or leave. What that simply means is that don't cultivate any hatred towards anyone. Otherwise, you will be trapped in the vicious cycle of hate and resentment, which will block your spiritual progress, so as to speak. Extend complete compassion. Tell them that you are there for whatever they need. But yes, you are on your own path. And just as they are allowed to follow their own course of life, their own path in life, you should also be allowed to follow your own path, your own way. Tell them that you don't mean to be a threat in any way. You don't mean to abandon them. But know that despite all your telling and trying to convince them, they still may retain the fear. The fear may be so deeply embedded within them that they may not be able to understand any of it. So yes, this can be a very, very challenging situation. But if it is your destiny to be a seeker, then the seeking will happen in your case. And no obstacle can prevent it. No obstacle can change it. It can be changed only through God's will, not through individual effort. People who obstruct path of peace seekers face a lot of suffering. They don't get to experience peace, contentment, fulfillment, and happiness. All they experience is conflict, confusion, chaos, and suffering. People who try to change others commit an act of violence. People who forcefully try to stop the seeking in others commit an act of violence. Every human being should be given a chance to pursue whatever they want to in their life. If that much compassion we can develop, the world will be a beautiful place. However, we are so immersed in doership, we just are so busy all the time trying to change the other by clinging on to them, by forcing them to wear clothes that we prefer, by forcing them to attend social functions, eat in restaurants and places where we prefer, to force them to meet people that we prefer, that we feel are of our standard, of our class, or whatever. That is all doership. Doership invites suffering, whereas surrender gives peace. But yes, in some cases, this will not be understood by people. And then the natural consequence of it will also happen. But yes, I'm pointing out at the hypocrisy of our culture, where we say that we value worship, the teachings, we would listen to Shabads, Kirtans, and all devotional songs, but when our own family members wants to pursue the path of peace and wants to spread the message of peace, we are the first ones to block them. I've heard so many cases where young people who want to become a renunciate are forced by their parents and families to stick to their corporate jobs and not go in that direction. So it's clear that while you say that you prefer Eastern values, deep down, you're insecure about your Eastern values and you want to stick to your traditional Western template, which is to find security, to get a job and be secure throughout your life. But is there really a security? Ask anyone who works in a corporate job, is there any security? I have worked for a decade in corporate job in the corporate sector. I could not find any security at any time. But when I lowered my expectations and adapted to a different way of living, I started feeling more and more comfortable and secure. So I have been on that path, and there were a lot of questions raised when I started my seeking as to why are you throwing such a good career prospects. And my answer was that stop this hypocrisy, because you keep talking about sages and scriptures, but when your fellow person is exploring that path, you're not being supportive. So why should I even listen? Why should I even bother? And I left those people. I left that whole environment. And in this journey, I met a lot of people with similar interests. I receive emails from people all across the world who shower so much love. Yes, financially I'm not that well off as I was earlier in my job, but I make it. I sustain. And I get a lot of love in return, which is much more valuable. My sincere thanks to Meena for supporting us on Patreon. Your Patreon contributions really help. So if you want to support, please feel free to, but there is no compulsion for anyone. Hope you have a nice day. Take care.